right. So William asks, coming from an atheist background, raised that way by my parents, how would you suggest beginning to introduce faith to my family, kids especially? Go ahead and take a swing at that, Daniel.
I think first and foremost, the practice of Asatru is ancestor worship. And while sometimes in the last couple of 100 years, particularly, we've over rationalized the existence of divine beings. So, getting the first step toward that, I think, is the worship of ancestors. Your grandparents, for instance, if they passed on, those are people that you've known, touched, held, shared meals with, and happy memories with. So I think the first step toward embracing that is the worship of ancestors.
Apologize, guys. Bear with me. Our entropy is not working again for some reason, unfortunately. So I'm trying to get that fixed. What I will say is, in the meantime, like Daniel said, I think that ancestor worship is the most accessible path to that. Because I think that when you have and I'm not sure if your parents are with you still, or if your grandparents are still with you, but when you have pictures on the wall of people that your children can see, they know those people existed. There's not a question. There's no, fundamental existential questions about the existence of gods. These people clearly existed. And it's so fundamental to human nature in all of our expression to be able to commune with our ancestors, even people that don't admit to it or don't like to. We speak to our dead loved ones often. Even atheists do it without thinking about it. You'll have something you want to share, or you want to ask your grandpa about, or you'll come in those moments where you're in your feelings and you'll do that. I think encouraging that in a more structured way with your children is a really good start. And I think if your children can believe that your ancestors listen on from beyond the veil, it makes it that much easier to get your children to believe in the gods. I'm not sure the ages of your children, and I think that makes a difference whether you're starting them out fresh or whether you're trying to get older children who have been atheists to become religious. One of the things is, I would stress, especially with the rest of your family and with older children, is openness. I think it's a huge ask to demand that someone goes from no belief to devout faith with nothing in between. I think that's a very big ask, and I think that's kind of a non-starter for a lot of folks. So in the AFA, we try not to do that. What I would encourage people to do is to be open and to reach out, to make an offering to the gods and see what happens with an open heart, an open mind, and just literally say, hey, I don't know if you guys are out there, but I hope that you are. And here is an offering, some incense or some meat or a shot of whiskey, or, literally whatever that's respectful, and say, hey, I'm here and I'm listening, and see what happens. And I think you'd be surprised. Some really great things can happen from just that. Also, I would encourage you to get with your local AFA membership and get your family to participate in a ritual, or at least to witness a ritual. The power when a group of people come before our gods is, there's a synchronicity that's built, and there's a momentum that's built that makes us worth more than the sum of our parts when we're doing it as a family or as a group, as a congregation. Um, and those are occasions where I've seen that light come on in people's eyes, where all of a sudden the gods are real to them. So I would encourage those kind of experiences. You can't force a belief, and you can't force a relationship, but that openness, I think, is a key in moving that forward.
Matt, can I add something to that?
Absolutely, you can.
So it's interesting you said that, and you had mentioned, bringing your family to an AFA event. So I'm going to tell a little bit of my story when I first joined the AFA. So I'd had found a folk builder in North Carolina through a Facebook group that was related to folkish heathenry, but not necessarily just the AFA. And they put me in contact with a guy here in South Carolina. And at the time, at the house anyway, it was just myself practicing and my daughter, who was 9 at the time. And I got invited to, I believe it was a winter finding event, which was only about an hour from my house. I told my wife, I said, me and Lauren are going to go check that out. And my wife made fun of me about this stuff. She was like, "Oh, you want to pretend to be a Viking? You're going to go pillage our neighbors' houses? La, la, la." So I told her we were going to go check this thing out. And she said, "Well, I'm going to come with you." And I said, "Why? You're just going to make fun or whatever?" She was like, "No, I just want to make sure you're not bringing our kid around some, weirdos or whatever." So my wife tagged along, and we exchanged gifts with Frey that day. I remember looking back at my little girl, and again, she was overcome with emotion because it was finally real. And we finished up with the ritual and shared a meal and did a sambal, which is a wonderful icebreaker. I always recommend that for newcomers to participate in sambal. And before we got out of the driveway, Heather had applied for membership at the Asatru Folk Assembly. And it was less about the connection with the divine. It was more about the connection within the community. So there's always little stepping stones there. And we talked about ancestor worship. I think that's maybe a second step. But I think getting involved with the community and seeing what it's about in real life is probably the most important thing you can do.
It's not the popular answer, but I think that it's true. When you see something, it's easy to come into this or come at this from regular 2020 modern American society or Western society in general, and be unsure and feel that maybe it's silly or not really feel like it's a real thing. And you can't not feel that when you're at one of our events, or better yet, when you're at one of our HOFs. Practicing it in real life, especially with other real people, with families, with good looking, nice people, it makes it very real. Being able to see that we have HOFs, that you can reach out and touch them. And as silly as it may sound, that they're on Google Maps, like they're a real location. That legitimacy makes it easier for people who are just starting out or who haven't considered Asatru before to feel like it's a real thing and to take it very seriously. And I think that does go a long way.